Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified informational privacy professional, providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hi, I am Justin Daniels. I am a shareholder and corporate M&A and tech transaction lawyer at the law firm Baker Donaldson, advising companies in the deployment and scaling of technology. Since data is critical to every transaction, I help clients make informed business decisions while managing data privacy and cybersecurity risk. And when needed, I lead the legal cyber data breach response brigade.
And this episode is brought to you by Red Clover Advisors. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, e-commerce, professional services, and digital media. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there's greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more and to check out our best-selling book, Data Reimagined, Building Trust One Bite at a Time, visit redcloveradvisors.com. Today is an extra special episode. And apparently I'm very high energy, too high energy for Justin.
I'm still recovering from the social calendar that you had for us over the weekend.
Oh, yes. We were party animals with activities Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and all kinds of activities all during the weekend. Indeed. We're not quite that busy.
No.
But we are well rested because we are recording on a Monday, and we are so excited to have Tom Kemp returning to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Tom Kemp is the Executive Director of CalPrivacy. Previously, he was a Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur and CEO. He volunteered on the California Privacy Rights Act campaign and has advised on major tech policy legislation nationwide, including the DELETE Act, SB 362, and AI Transparency Act, SB 942. He is the author of Containing Big Tech, which I encourage everyone to read. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Oh my God, you guys had me back. So I must have not done that poorly the first time around. So
it was amazing. And we're so excited that you were here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, this is you without even any espresso. Impressive.
Happiness, just natural happy.
Exuding it. Of course, Tom, I've been told that certain domestic skills around making beds, I am deficient.
Yeah, closing cabinets.
Yes. Clearly, she's happy and I am deficient. But anyway, Tom, can you share for some of our listeners who may not know you as well, a little bit about your career journey?
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, you guys actually did a great job of summarizing it. So just at a thumbnail sketch is historically been an entrepreneur here in Silicon Valley. And then my last company, I was a CEO and founder of a cybersecurity company, was able to build that to over 500 people and $100 million in revenue. We actually had to go through GDPR compliance. So I've actually been on that side of the fence, so to speak. And then after the company was acquired, this ballot initiative was happening in California, and I jumped on board, and it was Prop 24, the California Privacy Rights Act, that amended the CCPA. And so worked as a full-time volunteer on that passed with 9.3 million votes. So just incredible desire on behalf of Californians to have additional privacy. It created the agency, that ballot proposition, the California Privacy Protection Agency. So I just got the policy bug, and as you alluded to, just volunteered as a policy advisor. And so when this opportunity came up, I really jumped at it. And also, I had some key things that I really wanted to implement, and one of which was making privacy easy. That's really key to me as well. So not only, doing the day-to-day operations and working on the strategy and vision alongside the team, as well as the board of the CalPrivacy, that also really wanted to ensure that Californians can easily operationalize their privacy rights.
I love your background as an entrepreneur. I think that really helps because trying to comply with privacy laws is a challenging activity. And for someone who actually had to do it, you have a unique perspective, especially sitting in the role that you are today.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I certainly want to make it easier for consumers, but at the same time, we got to make sure that businesses are able to operationalize the privacy rights and be able to implement them as well. So it's a constant trying to find that right balance between guardrails and not holding back innovation. I think we've done a pretty good job here in California. We've moved, even with the CCPA being passed and then amended with the CPRA over the last few years, we've actually moved from the fifth largest economy in the world to the fourth largest economy in the world. So I think California, we're showing some good examples of that. Always can improve in terms of making it easier for businesses, at the same time trying to expand the rights that folks have. So that's a constant issue that we're always looking at.
Helps me have job security.
Helps me too. Yes. So, Tom, first, for those of us who are used to the CCPA, can you help us understand the name change to CalPrivacy?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously you have the California Consumer Privacy Act, the CCPA, which was amended in 2024 by the California Privacy Rights Act, or CPRA, that created the California Privacy Protection Agency, or CPPA. So I think we got everything straight, so we would never mess up these four-letter initials. No, just seriously, there was just kind of four-letter acronym overload right here, and especially as the agency tries to be more consumer outbound focused, trying to educate consumers, raise privacy literacy, make privacy more easier, deliver this drop system, that it just made sense to not subject the everyday person to these four-letter acronyms. In California, many of the agencies go by Cal this, Cal that. And so it just made sense to move to CalPrivacy to reduce friction, make it easier for consumers to find us on the internet, to take advantage of our resources. So it's just, again, maybe another example of trying to operationalize what we're trying to do here by giving us a more friendly nickname. Our legal name is still officially the California Privacy Protection Agency, but for the most part, we're referring to ourselves as CalPrivacy, because it's just, and the transition has worked really well. People have latched onto it, so which is encouraging.
Yes, privacy pros really appreciate not having to mess up all those acronyms. So thank you. And you also we have some newly adopted CCPA regulations rolling out starting this year. And what I was hoping we could talk about are what are the most important changes that companies need to understand, which we have consumer rights obligations and the new ADMT, automated decision-making technology, cybersecurity audit, and risk assessment requirements.
Yeah, no, we had a omnibus package of regulations that went through a long and winding road, but in the end, we landed the plane on the aircraft carrier with these things, and we really appreciate the feedback that we got from the business community, users, et cetera. Now, we didn't do this out of the blue. This was actually mandated by the actual Prop 24, the ballot initiative that told the agency that they had to write regulations in automated decision-making, risk assessment, and cybersecurity audits. And so it was left to the agency to do that. And through this process, we really fine-tuned this. And in the end, I think we have the nation's most comprehensive set of regulations in these areas. For example, when it comes to cybersecurity audits, the only other state that requires cybersecurity audits is New York, but that's only limited to financial services. This applies to all businesses, specific to processing at a certain level of size and doing certain actions as well. So yeah, there's a whole different set of deadlines associated with these. First, and we'll focus on risk assessments. That kicks in right now, January 1st, 2026. And in terms of actually having to submit attestations back to the agency saying that you've done that, you don't have to do that until April 1st, 2028. In terms of cybersecurity audits, that you obviously, hopefully in a perfect world, you're auditing these systems that process personal information. But in terms of actually having to send the agency certifications for larger businesses over 100 million, that doesn't kick in until April 1st, 2028, in terms of when you have to send us this certificate saying we've done this. For companies 50 to 100, that's April of 2029, and under 50, that's not until April 2030. The good news on the cybersecurity audits is that you can leverage existing auditing that you've done to kind of check off the items that we require. We do require an independent auditor to participate in this. So again, in terms of trying to make it easier for businesses, we really wanted them to leverage kind of the existing processes, audits that they've done, et cetera. And then last but not least, there's the risk assessments. And risk assessments, automated decision making. That's the next one I wanted to talk about. That kicks in on January 1st, 2027. And that is enabling specific rights for consumers. And the ADMT only involves the usage of personal information, making significant decisions with kind of humans, kind of being out of the loop for that. You should definitely look at the definitions right there. And then there's nothing that you have to submit back to the agency for ADMT, but you need to give certain rights to consumers, and those rights include the right to opt out, the right to access, et cetera. So yes, comprehensive set of regulations with different dates, and we're going to make things easier for businesses. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to come out with bulletins and fact sheets to give an overview of what's required, and then we're going to do informational sessions. And so that's going to happen all this year. And then lastly, there's another set of updates to the regulations, which were more generic CCPA updates. And we've already come out with a fact sheet on that that's available from our website. So yeah, big package, mandated, different deadlines, different dates associated with them. But we're going to try very hard to educate the business community in terms of what their obligations are this year.
Tom, you're a great person. You always post all kinds of wonderful new information on LinkedIn. So I encourage anyone listening to follow. If companies wanted to make sure they're on top of those bulletins, is there an email, or just go to the main website for CalPrivacy and be able to sign up so that they don't miss any of those new bulletins or advisories that you'll put out?
Yeah, so we have the cppa.ca.gov website where there is the ability to register for different updates, board meetings, as well as other information that comes out. As part of this move to CalPrivacy, we have a consumer-facing website, privacy.ca.gov. And over the next 6 months, we're actually going to merge the two sites together just to be privacy.ca.gov. And in the merged site, there will be a kind of a business area where we'll have these bulletins posted. They're currently on the cppa.ca.gov website. And then we also will have a newsletter as well. And we'll have different newsletters for more the consumer facing, just get updates, privacy tips, but there also will be the ability in the new website to subscribe for more business updates. But that exists today, on the cppa.ca.gov website. So yeah, we always need to be, informing both consumers and businesses, what's going on with the agency. And so there's a way to get notifications.
Wonderful. Everyone listening, make sure you go sign up.
Oh. So Tom, what are the biggest operational challenges you see companies facing when it comes to implementing CCPA rights like access, deletion, and opt-outs?
Yeah, I think the enforcement actions that we've taken provide a real good roadmap of things that businesses have tripped up on, and so those are always good guidelines to take a look at and kind of do some introspection. Furthermore, we do provide enforcement advisories from time to time. And so we try through both the settlement agreements that we publish as well as enforcement advisories, just try to provide transparency in terms of things that we think are important that all businesses should take a look at. And so I think clearly, I think the key message that's coming from the enforcement advisories as well as the enforcement actions, which is the overall, to answer your question, is we really think that businesses should walk a mile in the consumer's shoes, that they should, what that means is that they should actually test their website, their mobile application, and determine whether or not people can actually exercise their privacy rights. You think like, oh, but boy, that's definitely not a revolutionary statement. But what you'll see from time and time again is that I think that a lot of businesses may have just relied on some technology that they may have purchased or licensed, and with the thought process that just because I bought a privacy product, then I check that box. But they're like any technology, you need to properly configure it, and then you actually have to, do a walkthrough to make sure that whether or not it actually works and it meets, probably, the average expectation of a consumer. So I think it's my biggest advice and guidance is to do actual consumer testing of it. Like if you're a privacy professional, call up your grandma, call up your aunt, your sister, a friend in the neighborhood and say, hey, I'm responsible for xyz.com. Can you do me a favor and then, go to our website, see if you can figure out how to get to the privacy page, how you can exercise your privacy rights, et cetera. Was it an easy experience? Was there timely responses, things of that nature as well? So I think that's our biggest recommendation of what we're seeing is that consumers are being flustered, and friction is being introduced in the basic exercising of privacy rights with associated websites and mobile applications.
I love that you emphasize that customer test. And I would offer people should also look because sometimes mobile versus desktop is a different experience. Font size, color, how other links are overtaken, and just the entire experience to really look at what you thought, what you planned, and just literally have an outside view is incredibly helpful. So I'm so glad that you emphasize that.
I think people focus, with websites, they focus on like, can a transaction occur? Can I get someone to quickly sign up? Can I quickly, but then oftentimes it kind of stops after that. And they don't think about the whole life cycle of a consumer saying, hey, I actually want to delete my account, or I want to stop getting emails from you because you're kind of, spamming me. I want to opt out, that I don't want my information being sold or shared. Yes, I signed up for it, but I get the sinking feeling that you're using my information and providing it to others. So basically, the expectation is that consumers want to be able to control their personal information. And, I just simply say that, yeah, it's tough to lose someone from your, that someone wants to opt out, but that is a right that people have. And you need to be able to respect that right by not putting forth dark patterns, making it too difficult, providing a unified interface, not asking for too much information for people to opt out, et cetera. And again, I think a good roadmap is these enforcement actions, these enforcement advisories, that we're really trying to telegraph to the community. These are the things that we care about. And we're not doing this in a vacuum. We actually get over 150 complaints from Californians every week. Since inception, we've had over 10,000 complaints. And one of our more recent enforcement actions was actually triggered by a consumer complaining that, hey, I can't exercise my privacy rights. And they got so frustrated that they, lodged a complaint with us, and that led to an investigation that led to an enforcement action. So, yeah, you got to respect your customers and the consumers.
So, Tom, from your perspective, because obviously you've worked in the private sector and been highly successful, and now in your policy role, what is your thought around these executive non-privacy pros whose whole goal is if we want to grow this company, we need a frictionless experience for our customer? And to put a fine point on that, I think of what's going on now with AI and some of the lawsuits you're seeing around um, how kids interact and how people are interacting with these automated decision-making tools where it doesn't seem like privacy is being respected because it's an all-out race for market share.
Well, the reality is that at least at CalPrivacy, we are responsible for protecting people's rights to their personal information. And just because you're using a new technology, such as artificial intelligence, if it utilizes personal information, you don't get a get out of jail free card. That the laws, regarding the obligations that businesses have, the respecting of privacy rights, continues even though you're using this newfangled AI. It's not like privacy rights disappeared during the mobile revolution that occurred. Just because you come up with a mobile app and before you just had a website, that doesn't mean that consumers should not be able to exercise their privacy rights under the mobile app as well. So yeah, I think the reality is that there is a significant wave of new technology coming, but the underlying usage of data, the rights and the obligations, are still there. And we will certainly see additional legislation for specific use cases that may not be covered by existing laws. But to be candid, the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, is pretty broad, and it does cover the use of personal information by artificial intelligence. And then we even further put forth regulations specific to automated decision making that's making critical decisions for people as well. So there's even further obligations that are associated with it as well. So yeah, and I think increasingly, consumers are going to notice this. They're going to file complaints. That this is going to be an area of enforcement, and I think that's just kind of the natural evolution that's going to happen.
Well, speaking of enforcement, CalPrivacy is unique as being a dedicated agency in the United States focused on privacy. And we have other states and attorney general's offices that are ramping up in enforcement and a lot of conversation about collaboration. Can you share a little bit about how does CalPrivacy collaborate with other attorney general's offices or privacy throughout the US?
Yeah, absolutely. So we always want to, gain leverage by working with sister agencies within the state as well as cross-jurisdictionally. And so it's important for us to be able to share tips, best practices, and then also ensure that we're harmonized with other states in terms of the enforcement of our laws. It actually turns out that the vast majority of privacy laws have common bones. They have they enable a common set of rights. I'm not saying that there isn't, some differences, but if you actually look at the enforcement actions that have been taken at the state level, those type of enforcement actions would have happened in any state, right? And so it's key for us to be able to partner with other agencies. And so we really took this lead on this consortium of privacy regulators. And so, yes, we're the only independent agency that's a member of this. And then the other members are attorney general offices. And I should definitely point out that the Attorney General of California also has enforcement rights over the CCPA. So it's kind of interesting that, we'll come out with some press releases about enforcement actions, and then all of a sudden the Attorney General will do that as well. So so there's dual enforcement happening here. But there are 10 members of the Consortium of Privacy Regulators. It's bipartisan. And I think that number is going to grow. And so it's really key for us to partner with them. And that actually leads to, for example, a joint investigatory sweep that we're doing as it relates to support for the global privacy control. We're doing that with the Attorney General of California, Colorado and Connecticut. So that's kind of a focus area. So that's another way for businesses to kind of realize that, what's important besides the enforcement advisories and the enforcement actions that we're doing. And then we're also collaborating on an international basis. So we were part of a investigation with 30 DPAs, most of which are in Europe, focused on kid safety as well. So that's another area that we can kind of collaborate with, not only here in the United States, but around areas such as global privacy control, but also internationally as well. In fact, we even have partnerships, formalized memorandums of understanding with the ICO in the UK, CNIL in France, the South Korean Data Protection Authority, et cetera. So it's just things that we're trying to do to give us more leverage, better educate ourselves, and help facilitate harmonization of the enforcement of privacy laws are key areas of focus of ours.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing.
So with the new rulemaking complete, what enforcement mechanisms or priorities is the CPPA most focused on operationalizing in the next 12 to 18 months? And we also hear people asking how a company might be investigated, if you can share a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into the particulars, but clearly from an investigation perspective, we do look at these consumer complaints that I talked about before. And usually what happens is that if there's some business or some practice that's happening, that we'll suddenly see kind of a flurry of similar complaints coming in. And so we certainly look at all the complaints, and as I alluded to before, they have led to specific enforcement actions that we've taken. So we do listen to we put our ear to the ground, and we certainly listen to what's happening, and we really appreciate the Californians taking the time to flag and raise issues with us in the form of complaints. Similarly, we actually have a technology team that will look at websites, data flows, et cetera, associated with specific privacy harms that we're aware of. We're definitely looking at press articles, and if there's specific things that are top of mind or kind of egregious, that we're not immune to reading the newspaper or getting a Google alert on things. And so that may trigger, interest on our behalf. Just so those are the type of things that could raise issues or flags with us. Clearly, what we're trying to focus on is addressing privacy harms that are impacting vulnerable people in our community. Furthermore, we like building cases as we see each case as a building block that kind of sets precedent, that provides guidance to other businesses in terms of what's acceptable, et cetera. So we're kind of working our way up and, trying to have, communicate here are things that are definitely not good in terms of dark patterns or providing too many hoops or too much friction for people to exercise their privacy rights. So that's kind of the overall, genesis of how investigations come up. In terms of enforcement, priorities, I think we don't communicate those, but I think some of the joint work that we're doing with some of these other agencies that I talked about, for example, around global privacy control, around with other jurisdictions, both domestically and internationally around kids data, give you a good feel for the things that are top of mind with the agency.
And I'll echo those bulletins that you mentioned earlier. I would offer that also a focus is additional communication, bridging together to make it even easier for consumers. And I think I always say the more that consumers are educated, the more that they're going to then question what happens at companies. And it is unhappy consumers that tend to try and make privacy rights requests. And then when those aren't honored, then they're going to be unhappy and submit complaints. So I feel like it's an entire circle of additional education, to consumers who then go and do their daily business with all different types of companies. And depending on how that experience is, testing what that experience is from a company standpoint and making sure it's actually working is going to be extra important.
I 100% agree with you. And I think what's happening in society is that there is increasingly a greater interest in people protecting their privacy. And parents see that with their kids, with the algorithms using personal information to, keep them utilizing the applications and systems, that people's name, image, likeness is being manipulated, and parents are very concerned about what's happening in schools with people's photos being manipulated. And then there's concerns about, is data being sold to the government? Is data being used to kind of surveil me and give me different pricing compared to other people as well? So I think overall, from a societal perspective, there has been a significant, increase in privacy literacy and privacy awareness. And so therefore, and especially with the drop system that we've implemented, I know we haven't talked about it, that's the delete request and opt-out platform that allows consumers here in California to have a single-click mechanism to initiate a deletion request. Once, based on the overwhelming response, and we've had over 230,000 Californians in about 6-7 weeks go to this website, sign up, it tells you that there's a pent-up demand and interest in being able to take control of your personal information, to exercise your privacy rights at scale, et cetera. But that pent-up demand and interest wouldn't be, it's not in a vacuum. It's based on what's actually happening and the fears that people have. And so, yeah, to kind of go to the old way of thinking where, well, people really don't care about privacy, we can kind of skimp on this. It just doesn't match what the current zeitgeist is with people who have great concerns about what's happening with their kids, that they're concerned that they're adult children, that maybe their elderly parents, that information is being weaponized to scam them, to facilitate, AI-based phone calls, from someone's grandchild, et cetera. So there's just all this stuff going on. And so I think businesses just need to continue to realize that you have to meet consumer expectations.
Now, CalPrivacy has an exciting new role with a chief auditor on board. How do you see this new chief auditor role evolving and what the primary area of focus will be?
Yeah, so we're certainly thrilled to have Sabrina Ross as the agency's inaugural and first ever Chief Privacy Auditor. This position was actually called forth in the statute, the Prop 24, the California Privacy Rights Act. So we're glad to have this person on board. She will lead our newly formed Audits Division, which develops and applies complex, regulatory examinations of businesses. So the focus of the Audits Division will be looking at compliance. And as a complement to our enforcement agency that looks at violations as well. Now, we may do these audits, just to get a better understanding of new technology areas, or to look at specific privacy harms, maybe in the end to raise awareness and provide education and create reports available to businesses and consumers. But also, some of the audits actually may lead to referrals to the enforcement team as well. And so really the enforcement division is complementary to this newly formed Audits Division, and who are really focused on looking at compliance gaps as opposed to the enforcement division looking at violations. When I previously mentioned the risk assessment attestations that are due in 2028. And when I talked about the cybersecurity certifications, those will actually be processed by our Audits Division. So we have time to document and tell people how you go about submitting those, but that's another kind of area of focus of that the Audits Division will work on.
Wonderful. Thank you. Very, very helpful.
So, Tom, as we asked you before, what do you like to do for fun when you're not all things about privacy policy in California?
Can you say that again? I want to make sure I answer this. What do I like about?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What do you like to do for fun when you are not all things privacy in the state of California?
Great. Okay. Yeah. No, thank you. Well, I'm certainly I'm a sports fan, and my alma mater, the University of Michigan, is playing pretty good basketball. Unfortunately, we lost to Duke in a non-conference game, but there's the tournament coming up. So hope springs eternal for my alma mater as well as everyone else's alma mater. 68 teams that get into the tournament. So I'm definitely going to be focused on March Madness in the coming weeks as well.
I can't believe that's already upon us. Oh my gosh, I feel like we just did that. Well, Tom, we are so incredibly grateful that you joined us today. If people would like to connect and learn more, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, certainly, from a professional perspective, feel free to follow me or connect on LinkedIn. And then specific to if you're more of a consumer or you have people that live in California, point them to privacy.ca.gov. And then obviously there's the drop system that's available for Californians to use. And so that's a quick and dirty way for people to at least take control as a respect to the use of their data by data brokers. And then at that website, we also have a whole bunch of privacy tips as well. And then finally, for the business community, for these bulletins and the enforcement advisories, that's on the cppa.ca.gov website. Sorry to offer two websites. As I said before, we're going to merge these together over the next 6-9 months. But right now, they are separate. And so the cppa.ca.gov is more for resources for businesses, talking about advisories and other things, while the privacy.ca.gov is more the consumer-focused one. So visit both or visit one, and we certainly appreciate any visits that people make to our website.
Amazing. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Oh, this has been great. Well, thank you for having me on. I don't know if this is going to warrant a third visit right here, or if I'm going to.
I love it. Let's do it.
If I'm like, okay, that's it. We've had enough of him. So
you're always welcome back anytime.
Okay, thank you. Well, look, I really appreciate what you guys do, the evangelism that you do on behalf of raising privacy literacy with the business community, and so that's always greatly appreciated.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.